Alfred Hitchcock, the undisputed master of horror, a filmmaker who effortlessly guided the hand of horror cinema in its halcyon days, and whose unique blend of suspense and genuinely horrifying human motifs of fear led the way for an entire generation of horror fans and filmmakers alike. My favourite line about Hitchcock is his description of cinematic suspense. Picture two men sitting beside a table, they're talking at length for minutes on end, and then suddenly a bomb explodes from beneath them. Game over. Pretty surprising, but oh well. But now, picture that scene again, but this time the audience knows exactly what's underneath the table, but the two men don't, and the bomb keeps on ticking. It's a simple equation, but boy has it done the trick. Hello horror fans, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host, Jack Finches. Today we curiously take a look at the top 5 most horrifying Hitchcock horror movies. Roll the clip. For the curious amongst you, that was from 1959's North by Northwest, a fantastic demonstration of Hitchcock's work that captures some of the most iconic scenes in the whole of cinema, crop duster and a genuine idiot included. Now, it's important to note that it goes without saying, but obviously Hitchcock has created some of the most iconic works in the whole of cinema, and this, well, this is a 5-point list. You can see the problem here, right? But we're sticking strictly to horror, so hopefully it might make things a little bit easier. Let's begin. Kicking off at number 5, Rear Window, 1954. And for the Simpsons fans amongst you, you may remember a certain Bart Simpson being in a very similar position. And whilst it's certainly true that being referenced by that show is an accolade in its own right, I'd say that yes, Hitchcock really was that influential. You see, it's easy to argue sometimes that the classics were only successful because no one had done it yet. And yeah, whilst that's correct for some of his contemporaries, Hitchcock really was in a league of his own. He was one of the few filmmakers to master single location movies, and in doing that it earned him the incredibly complex and detailed set that Rear Window is filmed on, an exquisitely crafted replica of one particularly iconic Greenwich Village courtyard. Again, when we talk about Hitchcock's horror here, we have to remember that suspense was the man's modus operandi, and this film is the literal definition of suspense. Based upon the 1942 short story It Had to Be Murdered by Cornell Woolrich, with a screenplay from John Michael Hayes, Rear Window tells a tale of a man named Jeff, a fantastic and adventurous photographer who has suffered a broken leg on his latest journey, and so is wheelchair bound whilst he recovers in his Greenwich Village apartment. During this time, as the rear window of his apartment backs out into a busy and elaborate courtyard, Jeff slowly starts to learn about the intricate lives of his many neighbours. During a powerful heatwave, his neighbours have tended to keep their windows open to stay cool, but on one certain stormy evening, Jeff overhears a woman scream a blood-curdling scream, pleading for her life, and suddenly he discovers that there's a killer somewhere in the courtyard. Honestly, this film is actually brilliant, and for people trying to get into Hitchcock's work, I'd recommend this as a starting point. It's entirely accessible in its simplicity, but its execution is second to none. It's almost strange to be watching a genuinely gripping film to then get snapped back to reality to realise this film was made in 1954. Also, it stars James Stewart as Jeff, who is historically fantastic in this movie, and there's an absolutely knockout performance from the legendary Grace Kelly. It's Hitchcock 101. Swinging in at number 4, Rebecca, 1940.
You've nothing to live for, really, have you? Look down there. It's easy, isn't it? Why don't you?
A film which, for all intents and purposes, wasn't exactly Hitchcock 101, but instead a frighteningly different foray into a burgeoning facet of his potency as a filmmaker. You see, it goes without saying, but Hitchcock first cut his teeth in his native Britain as a silent filmmaker, carving out a new path for the horror and thriller genre. Eventually though, with success soon came international acclaim, and that caused Hollywood to take note. As they do. Rebecca, for the sum of its parts, was Hitchcock's first American film, and it does stand out because of that. In many ways, Rebecca is an island in Hitchcock's work, standing on its own significance, and that perhaps is the reason why it was so impactful. For all intents and purposes, Rebecca is a gothic horror. It is a brooding film, deeply psychological, haunting in many ways that modern cinema struggles to capture. It's grandiose at all the right notes, and it paints itself as a ghost story without a ghost. But hey, That's Hitchcock, right? Based upon the Daphne du Maurier novel of the same name written in 1938, Rebecca typifies the role of the malevolent housekeeper, a classic staple of Gothic horror, and the vessel in which this film goes from being just a drama to a deeply unsettling psychological thriller. From a narrative perspective, this film was way ahead of its time, and although it encapsulates the plot of du Maurier's novel, Hitchcock's handle of the cinematic lens took it to the next level. It tells the tale of a young woman played by Joan Fontaine who, although is never named in both the book and the film, falls in love with a aristocratic widower, a man named Maxime de Winter, played by the one and only Laurence Olivier. The pair marry and he soon takes her back to Manderley, his extravagant mansion by the sea, and there we meet his housekeeper, Mrs. Danvers. And there we have Rebecca. Listen, although the stars of this film, Olivier and Fontaine, aren't remarkable in it, Rebecca is terrifying because of the performance of Judith Anderson, who plays Mrs. Danvers. She is impeccable in this movie. She is terrifying. She really is. Why is it called Rebecca? Well, watch the movie and find out. Next up at number 3, The Birds, 1963. Which, let's face it, you've all been waiting for, as it is in fact perhaps Hitchcock's most explicit horror. But it's also one of the strangest and most mysterious horror movies ever made. Which might sound like a bit of an overstatement, but hear me out. If you're asking me, The Birds is more cosmic horror than anything else. It's the definition of the unknown. It's a small town that seemingly gets savagely attacked by a swarm of crows, seagulls and sparrows. Why? We don't know. In fact, Hitchcock made a point of it to never tell us or explain the matter. He was deliberately ambiguous. In fact, he invited the audience to theorize as to why these birds are savagely attacking the poor townspeople, and then gave no answer. In some cases, he outright refused to answer. A virus? Nope. Mad bird disease? No. Now, for those of you that haven't seen the film, you might be thinking, birds? Really? Scary? But please, this is Hitchcock we're talking about. The man can make a bouquet of flowers scary. Again, based upon the resounding 1952 novella of the same name by Daphne du Maurier again, The Birds tells a tale of Melanie Daniels, a young socialite who falls smitten with a lawyer named Mitch in a chance encounter at a pet store, and shortly takes a trip with him to his quaint coastal Californian town of Vertigo Bay. After a romantic excursion, Melanie strangely gets attacked and badly injured by a seagull. That strikes her as odd, but as soon as the days go by, more and more birds seem to be converging over the town, standing in lines on unassuming fences, covering children's playgrounds, flocking on people's roofs, and then we have the birds. It's simple, it's effective, and it's genuinely terrifying. A little side note, my nan actually showed me this film when I was about 6 years old, and although it was the middle of the day, I was completely and utterly horrified. Hey, maybe that's why it's instilled in me a passion for horror fiction. Thanks, Nan, and thank you, Hitchcock. Coming in at number 2, Vertigo, 1958. Pound for pound, I'd say this is Hitchcock's best movie. Obviously, it's a tough one to call, but the convergence of every theme he ever laid out on screen seems to find its place in the frames of 1958's Vertigo. First and foremost, this film is beautiful, and not only is it beautiful, but from a technical perspective, it was way ahead of its time. Now, I know it's easy to sometimes get wrapped up in the ostentatious nature of the grass being greener way back when, but forget about the sycophants of cinema. This film is truly a masterpiece, and much like the more contemporary classics of horror cinema, it's in repeat viewings where Vertigo truly shines. It's a film that encompasses so much that it's impossible to take it all in one sitting. It's a vertigo of the mind almost. It's a false sense of rotational movement, something not quite right about a frame or a certain sequence that jars you. Horror cinema can do that, and Hitchcock did that. A film can have a physical effect. That's maybe not a weird thought now, but in 1958, the man was a sorcerer. Based upon the 1954 French crime novel From Along the Dead by Bourlet Narcajac, Vertigo stars the remarkable James Stewart as a former police detective, Scotty Ferguson, who is forced into an early retirement following a traumatic incident in the line of duty, which inflicted Scotty with a severe fear of heights, as well as vertigo, a dizzying sensation of whirling and a loss of balance. I mean, the clinical definition of vertigo kind of already sums up this film, but yeah, You get the point. As the film slowly unravels itself, Scotty is hired by an old college acquaintance, a private investigator who suspects his wife of infidelity after she's been acting strangely, and from there, we have it. Now there are so many twists and turns when it comes to this movie, many of them visually as well as narratively, and it's a disorientating experience to sit through. Really, it is. It's dizzying. The heights of this film are lofty, and the implications of every frame run so damn deep that we could probably do an entire video on it. Vertigo, guys, is the best. And finally, coming in at number 1 spot, Psycho, 1960.
Do you go out with friends?
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Because the truth of the matter is, I'd usually reserve this position for something that was perhaps a little bit off the wall, you know? Something that isn't quite expected, something that doesn't find its way to the top of everyone else's list, because that's boring, right? You guys want something fresh, you want a movie that you've never heard of. You want something new. But guys, this is a list about Alfred Hitchcock's scariest films, and there is no doubting that 1960's Psycho is unequivocal. There is nothing that even comes close to it. Psycho is the scariest film that he ever made. Period. No question. Not only is it the scariest film that he ever made, it's also one of the scariest films ever made. I mean, really, it is. Psycho is horrifying. I mean, just watch this. The slow pacing of the door's shadow, the shift of focus as Arbogast takes each step up the staircase, the inverted aerial shot of an indoor space. Wait, what's that? Why is that? And then jarring, jagged violins, and then Mother. Bernard Herrmann's music in that scene, as well as the entire movie, is second to none. I mean, for me, that is one of the scariest scenes in the entire film, and that's saying something. Although the shower scene gets all of the love, and it deserves it, because what the hell, this film is pretty much near perfection, and we don't have to pick and choose between some of the greatest scenes in horror cinema, because we can just watch the movie and see them all unfold before our very eyes. We can just sit down and witness the master at work. Psycho. That's all there is to it. Well, there we have it, horror fans, our list for the top 5 most horrifying Hitchcock horror movies. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Disagree? Think there's any more we can add to this list? Let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below, as well as any choice picks of your own. Before we depart from today's video, let's first take a quick look at some of your more creative comments from over the past few days. Dan Abnormal says, "You guys really do a nice job getting in depth with why something is good or not." Hey, thanks Dan Abnormal. It's pretty difficult to convey an elaborate thought in such a short medium, but I'm glad it's appreciated. Cheers, buddy. Norwal says, "You're the best." Haha. Thanks, dude. Hey, this is starting to become a really nice moment. This is a really enjoyable comment section. And finally, Dominic Vandermoe says, "The village sucked. So did the twist. OMG. First thing I have hated you say, Jack, ever." Hey, thanks for bringing me back down to reality, Dominic. You gotta have balance in all things, right? I guess you gotta take the rough with the smooth. Cheers for leveling me back out. Thank you, Dominic. Well, unfortunately, on that note, that's all we've got time for in today's video. Just stick around all the way until the end. If you were a fan of this video, or just top 5 scary videos in particular, then please be a dear and hit that thumbs up button, as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos, and until next time, you take it easy.